Hello, everybody. This is your second video to watch for your first week assignment. I do have an animated cat on my head. Enjoy. Okay, so let's get started. I do want to talk about inputs and outputs and open and closed systems, and then a little bit about feedback. Okay, and that's it. What is an input and an output? So an input is basically anything that's put into a system, okay? So a system is basically anything, right? It could be, for instance, this cup. Whatever is inside this cup is a system. If I close the lid where I drink, now this system is actually closed. I will get to closed, open, and isolated soon. I just want to basically show some examples here. So here's a system. Here's a different system. This is a system too, right? My cell phone. Okay, so this system has different components to it. It's got plastic case, it's got a glass screen, it's got some processing tools and some special metals inside. Okay, so this is a complete system. Now, what would be an input for this? Maybe think about that. What would be something that would go into this device? So one thing maybe you're thinking about is, information. So I have some information in my head. I want to tell my friend this information. So maybe I get on the phone, write up a text message, and then I send it out. Okay, so inputting the text message is my input, right? Now the output would be sending the message because now I'm sending that information out. Okay, so that person would get it, right? So that would be input and output of that. And usually it's thought about with information, but there is another kind of input that's out there. So it's not just information. So think about what other kind of input there could be. Think about Earth and all the different kinds of inputs. Think about our thunderstorm on the first day of school, right? We had some inputs to the Earth system then. Let me give a hint. So for instance, this cup, right, this thermos has, it's a system. And let's say, for instance, you want to put something in here, okay? What would be some inputs in order to enjoy something in this cup? There are two different answers for this. If you're thinking about energy, that would be the thing that I was thinking about first. So energy in the form of light. We had some light last night from some thunderstorms, right? We had some lightning. We had some flashes of light. We also had some thunderstorms, so there's some sound and wavelengths, right? Because there's also outputs and inputs that are wavelengths in the form of maybe heat, like microwave. So the other one would be heat, right? So heat, you can heat up an item and put it in here, and it's nice and warm to drink. So there's heat, light. Okay, I want you to think about another type of input. Okay, there is a different thing that can go in this cup that isn't light or heat. If you thought matter, that is correct. You would need to put, let's say, tea or cocoa powder and water. That would be matter. That would be objects, right? Things that you can actually physically touch. Okay, so the reason why I have this white screen is actually to keep track of what we've been discussing. Okay, so far we have inputs, we have some light, we have energy in the form of light and heat. Okay, we also have matter. If you want, you can actually include movement too. Movement is a type of input. Okay, we also have information. Okay, so info. All right, so we have some inputs. All right, And then we have something happening. We could have some processing. Okay. And then we have our output, which can also be our info, our light, and our heat. Okay. And matter. Okay. So there's some notes and some cool psychedelic colors. All right, so that's inputs and outputs. Okay, so anything that you put into a system is an input. Anything that goes out of a system is an output. All right. So now the next thing to talk about is open and closed systems. Okay, so we have, let me see, I need a new page here. Maybe I can move this up. Yes, I can. Okay, so closed system. Basically, a closed system has like one limitation or more, but it still allows for, it could allow for heat exchange. So this would be, for instance, this would be a closed system if I close the drinking area. Now it's closed. Yes, some heat can still dissipate slightly out, but it's really only one item. But the actual system is contained. Okay, so it is closed if there is one or more limitations. Okay, so we would have heat leaving. Okay, but nothing else. So the matter that's in there would be stuck in here, right? The cocoa, if it's sealed, right, it would be stuck in there, but heat could actually leave. We have an open system. This allows, we got O2, so we have some oxygen, that's oxygen that can be allowed in and out of the system. So basically things are allowed in and out. If I was to tilt this cup over, the water and cocoa would fall out, right? So that is an open system. It's open to the outside environment. Okay, that is very crucial right there. Open to environment. You could think of it that way. All right, and then there is our isolated. Okay, our isolated system. So this would be nothing leaves or enters. So nothing leaves or enters the system. Okay. Um, so this would actually stay hot because the heat wouldn't be able to leave. Okay. The cocoa would stay in there forever because it wouldn't be able to leave. So that's pretty much how it goes. It's completely isolated. Kind of how you feel during the coronavirus time, right? At times you're isolated because you're not allowed to leave or enter some places. So you could think of it that way. Now, when you're drawing your system for your assignment, think of things in your house. Please use something other than what I used as an example, okay? That would be really great. There are a lot of things in your house you can choose. There's a lot of systems that has input and output. Okay, you could pick anything your heart pleases. Um, just don't choose thermostat or some of the things that I kind of talked about. I just want to see you make your own example, basically. Okay, so one thing to talk about actually is a thermostat. Okay, so we have a control, right? We have some kind of temperature. We're going to say 80 degrees because it's been hot lately. Okay, here's the sun. So when we're going to show ice cubes, okay, there's some ice cubes. Yeah, okay, there's some ice cubes right there. All right, so this is cold, this is hot. So here's a special system that actually has something called feedback. Okay, this is our last idea. That's it for this week. So in this instance, we have a thermostat. When it's too hot, the thermostat takes an input, okay, of it being hot, and that would actually become something called feedback. Okay, so right now, let's say it's blowing cold. Okay, it's blowing cold until it gets to a point where it's basically so cold it reached the temperature you set it to. Okay, so actually I'm going to change this because we don't want it to be 80. We want it to be, I don't know, super cold. I don't know, 70. That's a really expensive bill. I don't even keep my house at 70. So yeah, 70 degrees. Let's just say we want it really cold. Okay, so once it hits 70 degrees, there's going to be some input that's come back to the system. Okay, the output is cold, but then the cold air ends up being, so this is output, but that cold air ends up becoming the input. Super crazy. The output becomes the input. So the cold air is an output because we want to make it 70 degrees. Now that cold air is going to become detected. That's how the thermostat knows it hit 70. It's like, whoa, it's really cold now. That cold air is going to be measured, okay? And that's going to become input, and then it's going to turn off, okay? And that's pretty much how it works. It turns off. Heat's going to come in. Now this heat is basically going to be an input, and it's going to change the air. Okay, so the air, now the temperature is going to go up, and it's going to go past the 70, but the thermostat needs it to be 70. So this input of hot air is going to now make an output happen. So that's feedback. So feedback is just basically coming back to a system in order to give it some information to alter the system. It's kind of weird. Maybe I could say it this way. Feedback is information from one step of a cycle that acts to change the behavior of a previous step of a cycle. Okay, so feedback is there's some kind of input that's going to make a change. And you can see that this input here became feedback because now it's going to make a change. Okay. This is still considered feedback because it's the hot air. It's coming back into the thermostat and it's telling it to make a change because it's hot. We need it to be 70. Okay. So that feedback, okay, is basically going to make this output happen. You may want to think about like when teachers give you feedback, they're giving you edits, right? They're giving you suggestions. We want you to make changes, right, to get a better grade, for a better output of your grade. That's still an output. So the feedback is basically something that is relayed that will hopefully, it's the goal is to make a change. Okay, so I hope that helped make it a little more clear, okay, because it can get a little tricky. Okay, so we covered systems and models. specifically Earth systems, okay, and some example other systems so you can understand the terms. We also covered feedback. We covered open, closed, and isolated system. And we also went over a certain kinds of inputs and outputs for examples. Okay, so make sure you understand those. We will be reviewing some of this starting next week, and we will be moving forward in content. Okay, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video.